we're going to be starting on verse 17. Ephesians 4, starting at verse 17. It says, "This I say therefore, and testify in the Lord, that you should no longer walk as the rest of the Gentiles walk, and the futility of their mind, having their understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart, who being past feeling have given themselves over to lewdness, toward all uncleanness, with greediness. But you have not so learned Christ, if indeed you have heard him and been taught by him, as the truth is in Jesus." So that's where we're going to stop. Ephesians 4, starting verse 17. I'll get you there, don't worry. All right. So my question for everyone is, what is something that you are passionate about? What's something that you care really deeply about? Like you are passionate about it. Lexi?
Russian literature.
Russian literature. Okay, awesome. I get that. Yeah, Lila? What? Baking. Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Baking
Lexi?
and goats.
Baking and goats. Like separately.
Baking goats.
Verifying, okay. Yeah.
Dance.
What?
Dance.
Dance. Okay. Dance. Awesome. Yeah.
Band.
Band. Okay, absolutely. Yeah. Matthias?
Music and writing/literature.
Music, writing / literature. Okay, 3.
Theater, and being a vet, and also learning Swedish.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Passionate about
I'm learning
Swedish. Mac? Music. Yeah. Sports. Yeah. Volleyball. Yeah. Awesome. Josh?
Learning every single known instrument there is.
That's something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
So why are you passionate about these things? What makes you passionate about it? You love them. Yeah. What do you love about them?
Russian literature is very
Philosophical. But the way it makes you feel, the way it makes you think, right? Yeah. It's fun. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The wisdom of the older people who have done it.
Wisdom? Wisdom is a good thing to be passionate about and to love. Yeah. And these are things, yeah, there's so many things you can be passionate about, right? And there's nothing wrong with being passionate about different things. Like I have weird passions, I am passionate about food. I love food. Like I do. Like I'm not really like a crazy foodie though. Like I just like there's nothing I don't like. Like there's very few foods that I won't eat. I just like what's that?
Eggplant.
Yeah, I've had eggplant casserole, really enjoyed it. Yeah. What?
I hate eggplant with a passion, that's why.
That's right. I'm actually glad you brought that up, because you can also be passionate about things that you don't like, right? And that is going to be a point of mine, because there's something I'm very passionate about, and it's something I really dislike. And it's the movie, The Last Jedi. Yeah, and if you've ever been in a conversation with me about this movie, I like that movie is irredeemable garbage. It's irredeemable garbage. There's nothing good about that movie. That's the middle one in the newest trilogy, The Last Jedi. It's where they basically just like destroy Luke Skywalker's character. Oh my goodness, I could spend this whole time just ranting about how awful that movie is.
Do it!
Yeah, I won't do it. I hate it. I hate that movie. It destroyed my childhood. It did. It ruined my looking back at my childhood. Yeah. Now, if you try to fit this movie, we're going to have issues.
There is the movie in between showing what happened when in between when Luke was a child and when Luke was 9,000 years old.
Anyway. All right, moving on. So, yeah, you can be passionate about a lot of different things, right? Now, one thing you guys obviously know, I'm passionate about the Lord, right? I mean, and the reality is when you're passionate about something, oftentimes you're willing to give something up for that passion, right? right? You're willing to give something for that passion. You know, like my wife and I, we've walked a very different life than the average person, maybe, because it's like, no, I'm living for the Lord. So you know what? Like, I'm going to spend the first 5 years of my working life actually working for nothing, volunteering, right? Because I'm passionate about seeing kids come to know the Lord. And so it's not about making money. Like, I don't care about money. I'm passionate about Jesus, right? And same with, like, that's why people start bands that don't make money, and they're, like, scraping by, and they're playing music. It's like, I'm passionate about this. Like, I want to play. Like, I want to perform, and I want to do this. All right? So often when you're passionate about something, it will cost you something as well, right? So if you're passionate about Russian literature, you're going to have to, like, read a lot, I'm assuming. You know, those books usually are not short, right? And, you know, if you're passionate about music, you're going to have to give up time to practice, right? There's going to be a cost to it. So here, in this passage, and I really feel like the Lord led me to this passage, we're going to get into how, and it might not be clear at first, but how passion and how, like, feeling strongly plays a part in this, okay? And so verse 17 says, "This I say, therefore, and testify in the Lord, that you should no longer walk as the rest of the Gentiles." No longer walk as the rest of the Gentiles walk, in the futility of their mind. Now, it's important. Paul is writing this letter, and he starts, or he says here in this section, like, I am testifying in the Lord. Like, I'm not saying this just because I want to say this. Like, I'm saying this in the name of the Lord. Like, this is from God himself to us. Right? I'm not just saying this, you know, because I'm a church leader or anything like that. I'm saying this as the very word of God. So that's important. This isn't something to be taken lightly. That you should no longer walk as the rest of the Gentiles walk. Now, does he mean literally the way you walk? Right? No, obviously not. Right? Of course not. Like, no one reads that and thinks, like, oh, like, I can't walk like the Gentiles walk, you know? No, it's talking about your life. Right? He's speaking about your life. And why is he saying the rest of the Gentiles? You know, does he hate the Gentiles? Well, before he did. Yeah, absolutely. When he was a Pharisee, yeah, absolutely. He did not like the Gentiles at all. But here he says the rest of the Gentiles. He makes a distinction. You know, and unless you have Jewish heritage in here, which I think some of you guys might, some people in here might. I know one in particular, but I'm not going to point them out. I don't want to make you awkward. But everyone's looking at that person anyway, so just so everyone's looking. Anyway, but no, so we're Gentiles. We're Gentiles, you know. I trace my lineage back to, like, Germany and, you know, like Switzerland. You know, I'm Swiss German. You know, and the Mennonites, and, you know, we're pacifists, so don't worry, we're in World War II or anything, but, you know, and they moved here to America way before, but, yeah, no, so, where was I going with this? Totally lost track. It's like the Dominic talking about war. Anyway, so, distracted me, man. No, so the Gentiles, right? We're all Gentiles in here, or most of us. Right? And so what this is saying, when you were a Gentile, but you heard the gospel, you received the gospel, right? The idea is you're no longer a Gentile. You're a Christian. You're a part of a new nation. You're a part of a new group. You're now a Christian. You're no longer defined by your lineage, right? And just like Paul would say in Galatians, there's neither Jew nor Gentile. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or you're a Gentile. What matters is, are you a Christian? And so that's what he's saying. We're not supposed to walk as the rest of the Gentiles, as the rest of the world. This is talking about people who aren't believers, who don't know the Lord, who haven't experienced the Lord yet. We're not supposed to walk and to live as they live. We're not supposed to live as they live. We're not supposed to look like the world. We're supposed to be different, but what's supposed to be different about us? And what is it that the Gentiles, what was it that the way that the Gentiles were walking that Paul didn't want us to walk Right? And so he says, well, don't walk as they walk in the futility of their mind. Futility, that word there is used in the Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Old Testament. If you don't know, it's the Greek translation of the Old Testament. That word there means vanity. It's translated vanity. Right? So Ecclesiastes 2:2 or 1:2, where it says, vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What profit has a man from all his labor in which he toils under the sun? One generation passes away, and another generation comes. And so that's the idea, this vain mind, it's empty, it's just worthless, it's not profitable. So don't walk as the Gentiles walk, with this unprofitable, vain mindset. And what's vain about it? Now, look, we all live in the real world. We look around us, and there's a lot of good that has come from non-believers, right? I mean, I'm sure many of us are grateful for our phones. Not that many of you guys have them in your hand right now because you took them from me. No, but we're grateful for it. I am grateful for modern medicine. I'm grateful that I could take my daughter and she could get her tonsils removed. I'm grateful for that. I don't know if the doctor was a Christian or not. I'm grateful that she got it done. Right? So does that mean everything they do is vain and empty? And I'm not saying that. In real time, right here, no, absolutely not. Eternally, though. Eternally, that's another conversation. That's another question. You know, I kind of like it as I was thinking about this. Like, what is it? How do I make this make sense? You know, I thought about mowing grass. Like, I have to mow our yard just about every week and a half, to 2 weeks. In the spring, it's, a lot more often. I have to mow my grass pretty often, and like that's just vanity. It's just emptiness. Because I'm going to mow this grass, and what's going to happen? It's just going to grow back, and I'm going to have to do it again. And I'm going to have to do it again, and I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to do it the following year until I die. Just mowing. The grass is going to be growing, and it's not going to stop. And the grass is going to keep growing after I die. And have I really changed anything? So why do I mow? So I can grow it. Yeah. So I can play soccer with Mason. We love playing soccer together. Yeah, that's why I mow. We play soccer together. We can play in our yard, kick a ball around, run around. We can play No Bears Out Tonight, which is like the name of the game. I know it's weird, but we can play that around our house and we can have fun. So it's not completely empty. There's purpose behind it. But that grass is going to keep growing. Right? And so what's the perspective? What's the perspective I have? And as believers, we're going to have an eternal perspective, aren't we? We're going to have a perspective that goes just beyond cutting the grass. We're going to have a perspective of how does this play out in eternity? And what I'm doing is what I'm doing bringing glory to God. And everything you do can bring glory to God. Even if you're a doctor, even if you're an electrician, even whatever you're doing, you can bring glory to God through that. But you're not going to have that mindset until you've really accepted the Lord, until you know Him. You're going to have this vain, empty mind, right? Where it's not going to have this eternal perspective. And so many people, it's just in the world, so many people are working and living for their pleasures, for even what you could call their passions, right? Living for just what they want, something that's going to satisfy them, money, lots of sex, relationships, that they think are going to satisfy them, or power, control. People are living for all kinds of influence, wanting to influence others. People are living for all kinds of things like that, and it's vain. It's so temporary. I thought this quote was interesting. It's a well-known quote by J.D. Rockefeller, who was the founder of the Standard Oil Company. He was the first billionaire in the United States. First billionaire in the United States. And at once was the richest man on earth. He was asked by a reporter how much money was enough. Have you guys ever heard this before? of you guys might have heard this. Yeah. So how much money was enough? And he famously answered, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Here, he's the richest man on earth, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Ecclesiastes 5:10 says, "He who loves silver will not be satisfied with silver, nor he who loves abundance with increase. This also is vanity." This also is futility. So many people in this world are living for these temporary pleasures, but they're never going to satisfy. And I chased it for many years. I chased it, and I'm going to tell you guys, I know it does not satisfy. You will never be satisfied. If you're trying to find your ultimate satisfaction in a relationship, it's not going to happen. If you're trying to find your satisfaction in sex, it's not going to happen. If you're trying to find it in money or in prestige or in influence or power, it is not going to happen. You will be let down. You'll be let down. It's futile, it's vanity, it's emptiness. And so we're not supposed, guys, as believers, we're not supposed to walk like the rest of the world. We know better. Don't we? We know better that those things are not going to satisfy me. I need something, and ultimately I need someone that can satisfy me. I need that satisfaction that's only found in Jesus. It's only found in Him. So the question then is, right? Why don't they stop? Why did it take me so long to stop pursuing things that I thought were going to satisfy me? Why does it take so long? And if you've ever tried to share your faith with people and they're just not getting, why? Why don't people understand? Why can't we stop? And look to the one that does satisfy, and Paul gives us the answer here. He says, having their understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart. And so he says, having their understanding darkened. And that literally means being surrounded by darkness. They're surrounded by darkness. They're unable to see. They're living in the dark. You know, anyone ever, go through their house in the dark and stub their toe, or yeah, we've all been there where you just can't see, and you're like feeling for the wall, and it's like, if the lights were on and you were doing that, like it would look so awkward, right? You ever been there, like just hand on the wall, like trying to find the switch, like where is it? No? Did not resonate with anyone, huh? Okay, a couple, yeah. Maybe it's just me, like in there, like, I'm just the weirdo, I don't know. Just hands out in front, but yeah. Groping in the dark. They're just surrounded by darkness. Looking, what can I grab? What will satisfy me? Psalm 36, verses 8 and 9. I love this verse. It says, they are abundantly satisfied with the fullness of your house, and you give them drink from the river of your pleasures. For with you, there's God. With God is the fountain of life. In your light, we see light. I love that verse. In your light, in God's light, we're able to see light. We're able to understand. And if you know about light, one of the cool things about that, like why we see colors, right? So why are the leaves on the trees green? It's because the leaves, right? Or really the chlorophyll inside the leaves, right? They receive all the wavelengths of light, the orange, red, violet. They receive all of those except for green. And so green bounces off of the leaves, and that's why we perceive the leaves as green. When in fact, green is the only thing the leaves can't take in. Right? Green's the only color leaves cannot take in, but that's what we see them as, is green. I love that. When we're in the light of God, when we stand in the light of God and in His understanding, we're able to truly understand this world. then we're truly able to understand the world we live in. But it's only until his light shines in our hearts that we're going to be able to receive it. And we're going to really be able to understand and see. Right? Have you ever tried to explain color to someone that's colorblind? I have. My dad's colorblind. We play a fun game with him every year around Easter. We get a bunch of jelly beans.
Oh.
And he can't tell. He's red-green colorblind. He can't tell. Like, the green ones look yellow to him. You know, it's crazy. The red ones all look brown to him. It's hilarious. It's amazing. You know, and so we're just playing with him the whole time. You know, but you can't convince him of the color red. Like, how do you explain the color red? Like, obviously, like, he knows it exists because we see it, we can perceive it, but he doesn't have either the rods or the cones, I can't remember which one it is, to perceive it. Right? And so, we're like, it's there. There's this color red, but he can't see it. He's unable. Right? It's funny, you ask him, he's red-green colorblind, how do you know, lights, traffic lights, right? Stop light, how does he know? You know, it's by the position of the light. Yeah. And then, I mean, the top one's brown, and so he's basically got two yellow lights and a brown light. You know, but he knows which one's which just by the position of it. So, isn't that pretty crazy? Yeah.
How does he know what he's wearing? Like,
Oh, he
he's
doesn't.
matching?
Oh, yeah. Like, my mom has to, because he'll wear, like, yeah. He will not match. He won't. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, fun fact about my family. So, only passes through the female side, so me and my brother, there's no chance of us getting it. It goes through the X chromosome. So since we got Y chromosome from him, we couldn't get colorblindness. But my sisters can pass it on to their sons. So, fact. Okay. All right, moving on. So now he goes on to say, being alienated from the life of God, being separate, alienated, being separated from. And that's what that word means there. Being separated. You're not a part of this group. Right? You're not in there. We had a doulos meeting, I guess it's been a week or two now. And I invited a guest speaker to come. His name was Josh. And he came and spoke. Awesome guy. And he was sharing his testimony. Part of his testimony was how he basically was in this church group and all these kids really they really got it. They wanted the Lord, and they were they would worship, and they would legitimately worship, right? And he's like, I don't understand, right? I don't get what they're so passionate about. I don't get what they're so excited about, right? And he felt like an outsider. He's like, I don't get why do they feel it and I don't? And I love that. It was such a good part of his testimony, and I think it resonated with a lot of the guys that were there, and girls that were there too. It's just that he doesn't, I've been there, been on the outside, right? Not understanding. Now I've been I've met a lot of different people, and if you've ever talked to someone that just or been in a group of people that know a lot about a subject that you don't know a lot about. You ever been there? Yeah? The best thing to do in that situation is what? Just keep your mouth closed, right? Smile and wave. Just do not try to add anything to that conversation, right? You're not going to add anything good, right? Yeah. I love the proverb. It's Proverbs, I think 17, and it says, even a fool is perceived wise when he opens out his mouth. And I love that. Right? And I love, I forget who said it first, but I heard it said, it's better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and to remove all doubt. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, so if you've ever been there, and they're talking about maybe a subject, oftentimes people talk about football. I don't know anything about football. They're talking about college football, and I'm just they're saying all these names, and you're like, I don't know. I don't know anyone. What team? I don't know. Tigers? I don't know. It's not even a team. Baseball, Tigers? Maybe, like, that's literally how little I know, right? Like, I don't know football. And you're in that, and you're just an outsider. You're like, I don't get it. And I don't understand. Maybe you're in here and you feel like an outsider. You watch people worship, you watch people talk about the Word of God, and they're excited. They're passionate about it. They're like, yeah, like, the Lord's awesome. And you're like, I don't get that. I don't get that. Well, that's actually probably not a bad thing. Because it shows you where you're really at. It's better to realize you're on the outside than to think you're on the inside and you're not. Right? It is so much better to realize you're on the outside, right, than to think you're on the inside, but you're really not. And I'm really worried that there's some people in here who think they're on the inside, but they're not. Do you know? Like, if you're on the outside, you know it, praise the Lord, because that can change. And all it does, man, is you just surrendering your heart to the Lord. Right? I want what they have. I see the love, the joy, the hope, and I want that. All right, great. It's found in Jesus. We'll make that happen. Dangerous when you think you're on the inside. Right? And if you're on the outside, you see it, man, talk to one of us. Talk to on the inside people. We'll bring you in. This is not a cliquey club here, right? Like everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome into the kingdom. Everyone. All right. Now he says, they're alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them. And what's causing this ignorance? The blindness of their heart, who being past feeling have given themselves over to lewdness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. So this is what's really interesting, is that they're ignorant because of the blindness of their heart. And that word blindness there, it means the dullness of your senses. It's also translated as callousness, being callous. Anyone have any calluses on their hands? Yeah. Calluses on your feet, good. Yeah. From not wearing shoes, right? Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, calluses, right? Why do you get calluses? Yeah, you gotta work, right? Like you gotta disrupt that area of your skin, right? So you have calluses, I'm sure, on the tips of your fingers, right? From playing guitar. How many of you guys have tried playing guitar and quit because it hurt the ends of your fingers? Yeah, thank you for being honest. Yeah, right? It's like, I don't know this. It hurts. Right? And so what happens is it gets irritated enough and it bothers and it removes enough skin that your skin gets tough. And you form calluses. If you go to the gym, you're going to get calluses on your hands. Right? You're picking up metal bars, right? And eventually those calluses will rip. And so, chew them off, spit them out, get new calluses out. What calluses are, guys, what calluses do is they protect you from pain. Calluses protect you from pain, yeah?
My dog has them on her elbow.
Yeah, my dog does too, yeah. So here's the important part, guys, and this is where calluses protect us from pain. That's the purpose of them. That's the point of them. And with that idea of callous, with that idea of being protected from pain, if we look then at where it says, who being past feeling, it's the Greek word, make sure I can find it here in my notes. Apelego. It's the Greek word apelego, and it literally means without feeling. Apathetic. It means being apathetic. Where you don't feel anymore. And that's what apathy is. It's where you don't feel. And so this blindness and this being beyond feeling is where you don't care. You don't feel anymore. And what causes that? What causes that? And I would bet what causes that more than anything else is people who have been hurt time and time and time again, and they don't want to hurt anymore. And so they close themselves off. They shut themselves down. And they say, I don't want to be hurt like that again. I'm never going to trust anyone again because of the way I've been hurt by that person. I don't want to feel that again. I've been wounded, I have felt pain, and I don't want to feel that again. And so you grow calluses on your heart. You grow calluses over your eyes. You don't want to see others anymore. And you don't want to feel for others anymore because you've been hurt so many times. And I wonder if that's not the cause for so many people just rejecting the faith is because they're in pain. Or they've been in pain. And they don't want to be anymore. And I wonder if that's not what causes so much apathy. Even in Christians. Even in people who are here in the church, that it causes so much apathy because you've been hurt. And so what do? You grow calluses. And you try to protect yourself. And you don't want to feel anymore. Because if you feel, you're setting yourself up to be hurt. Because a part of feeling is hurting. It's just reality, guys. A part of feeling is hurting. And you don't want to hurt. And that's a dangerous place to be, guys. That's a scary place to be. If you're apathetic, if you're beyond feeling, it's not a good place. It's not a healthy place. Famous quote about apathy says, the opposite of love is not hate. It's apathy. It's not caring. If somebody hates me, they must feel something, or they couldn't possibly hate me. Therefore, there's some way in which I can get to that. Did you hear that? Apathy is worse than hate. Apathy is worse than hate. You know, if you hate, that shows, again, I hate The Last Jedi. Dang it, it shows I care. Right? I care about Star Wars. If I didn't care, there are some of you guys in here, you don't care about Star Wars, do you?
No.
Yeah, thank you. Right? Some people don't care. They don't care at all. Right? And that's worse. That's worse than hate. I hate it because I love it. And they ruined it. Right? But it shows that I'm feeling. It shows that there's something happening inside. And that's better, guys. That's a better place to be. Maybe you're angry at God. Okay, hey, you know what? That's a better place to be than in a place where you don't care about Him. Where you don't even care anymore. If you're angry at God, I'm grateful for that. Because that is better. Because you're actually looking to Him then for answers. Right? That you're gonna go to Him and question. But if you're in a place where you're like, I don't care, I don't want anything to do, I'm done, I'm not gonna feel anymore, I'm gonna protect myself. It's dangerous. And I want to encourage you not to stay there because you can't live there alone. And the only person you're hurting is yourself. You're trapping yourself. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to be hurt. And maybe you feel hurt by God. Things have happened in your life that you're angry about. You're like, I don't understand, God, why you would let that happen. I don't understand why my parents are getting divorced. I don't understand why, this person had to die. I don't understand, why my friends had to treat me like that. I don't understand why you had to make me like this. I hate looking at myself in the mirror. And maybe that's how you feel. Okay, take that to the Lord. Be honest with Him. The Lord's not afraid of you being real with Him. He understands you. He knows the thoughts and intents of your heart already. The worst thing you can do is close yourself off from Him. And I want to encourage you, do not close yourself off from the Lord. Because He sees you and He does love you. And He doesn't want you to look in the mirror and to hate yourself. Because He died for you. He doesn't want you to talk to yourself the way that you talk to yourself because He loved you enough to give His life for you. And He speaks love over you. Don't shut yourself down. Don't shut yourself out. Don't shut the Lord out. can put a lot of callous on that heart, and he's still going to knock on it. He's still going to come to that door and knock on it. Because he loves you. And he cares about you. So be real with the Lord in your hurt. Don't hide. Don't try to push it down. Don't lie to yourself. Again, it's only going to make you worse. It's only going to make you more sick and more callous and harder. So what do? Well, the beauty is maybe you're there. Maybe you've been callous. Maybe you've just tried, I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to care anymore. I'm just going to shut down. I'm just going to put layers over I'm just going to protect myself. Ezekiel 11, 19 through 20. 19 and 20 says this. Then I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within them, and take the stony heart, that hard heart, out of their flesh, and give them a heart of flesh, that they may walk in my statutes, and keep my judgments, and do them. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God. Isn't that awesome? The Lord can give you a new heart. He can give you a new heart. So if you shut people out, maybe that's where you're at. You just shut people out. You don't want to let anyone in. You don't want to get close to anyone because you've been hurt too many times. Right? First off, I want to tell you, let the Lord in. But I know there's people here that care about you. There's a community here. We want to show you what it looks like to be a part of a family that loves the Lord and that's healthy. And we want to love you. We want to help you. We want to help you grow closer to the one that can change you. Amen? Because I can promise you I can't change you. There's nothing I can do. In verse 20 he says, but you have not so learned Christ, if indeed you have heard him and have been taught. By who? By him. Truth is in Jesus. So you can learn Christ. So you don't have to walk in that anymore. You can learn him. You can be taught by him. But the Lord has to, you have to have a teachable heart. And then be taught by him. You need a teachable heart. And to have a teachable heart, you need a soft heart. So is your heart soft? Is your heart open to the Lord? Are you open to the Lord? Why are you here? Why did you come to youth group today? Why are you here? Was it to be taught? Was it to hear from the Lord? Was it because this is just, you got nowhere else to go? Why are you here? I pray, I hope that if you're here for the wrong reasons, that the Lord's going to use it. But I hope all of us, I hope you're here because you want to learn from the Lord. Not learn from me, because there's not much I can teach you. But you want to learn from him. If your heart's hard and it's not open to the Lord, I want to encourage you to pray and ask the Lord to give you a new heart. Lord, take out this hard stone. Give me a new heart. My heart is hard. It's callous. I've been wounded. I don't want to let people in. I'm scared. I'm hurt. Give me a new heart, Lord. Give me a new heart. Give me a heart of flesh. One that's soft. One that is teachable. Amen? All right, let's go to prayer. So Father God, we just come before you and Lord, I pray for anyone in here who's been wounded. Lord, that wounded by loved ones, wounded by people they should have been able to trust, wounded by friends, maybe feeling wounded by you, Lord. Lord, I pray that they would not be apathetic, Lord. They wouldn't be beyond feeling. Lord, that even now your Spirit would just be piercing their heart, Lord. Piercing through the callousness, through the layers, the walls that they put up, Lord, to protect themselves. Lord, I pray that you would be breaking through. That knock would be heard, Lord, you calling to them, you telling them of your love. And Lord, I pray that they would answer. That they would ask you to come in and to give them a new heart, to change their life, Lord. That you would teach them. They would have a heart that's willing to be taught and willing to receive from you. Lord, help us not to walk in apathy. Help us not to walk without feeling. I pray that you would help me and all of these young men and young ladies in here to be passionate about you, Jesus. We'd be passionate. But we know one of the worst feelings is being passionate about something and other people not understanding. And Lord, I pray that you would give these young men and these young ladies understanding of how great you are. How worthy you are of our worship. How worthy you are of a life devoted to you. And that they would make that decision to devote their life to you, Lord, because you are worth it. Because you are a God who saves. You're a God who redeems. Broken hearts, hurt hearts, calloused hearts. You redeem, Lord. So I pray that they would just cast their lives on you. They wouldn't look back. I pray this in Jesus' name.